Greetings everyone. In this video, I'd like to show you how to combine the DAX query view testing pattern with an open source PowerShell module to automate your testing on your local machine. Testing serves as the safety net to try to prevent errors from reaching production so that you can work on cool new features without having to always babysit your semantic models. Enjoy.
In this demo, I'm going to show you that if you follow the DAX query view testing pattern, you can automatically test your semantic models locally before you update your workspace. This leverages an open source PowerShell module called Invoke-DQVTesting. Before we get started, let's look at the prerequisites. Of course, you need to have your Power BI file using the DAX query view testing pattern. If you are not familiar with this pattern, check out my prior video, link in the description. The second thing is Visual Studio Code. This is a free tool and makes testing easier. Finally, you'll need to make sure you have PowerShell core installed on your machine. PowerShell is a core component to enable test automation and is free to install from Microsoft. Now, let's look at how testing works in local mode for the Invoke-DQVTesting module with a high-level diagram. Looking at this diagram, you'll see we save the Power BI file into the PBIP format. Then we'll use Visual Studio Code to install and run the PowerShell module Invoke-DQVTesting. When this runs, it will pull the DAX tests from the DAX query view, find the Power BI report open locally, and run the tests. When you have a Power BI file open on your machine, an instance of the model runs on localhost and can be queried. Finally, the test results are returned and displayed on the Visual Studio Code terminal. Now, let's see the demo in action.
Now, for this demo, I have a sample Power BI project file open here, and the way that you can identify that is you see the format. This is something that was made available in one of the recent releases of Power BI Desktop. And I have a set of tests here. And notice that when I run them, if you're following the DAX query view testing pattern, you have the test name, expected value, actual value, and passed. And I have several tests in this file, including tests that look at the contents of the tables, and finally tests that validate the schema of the files. Now, what if you want to make sure all the tests run successfully without having to click through each tab? Well, let's open VS Code and open up the folder where the PBIP project is saved. And then you'll notice here on the left, we have our data set and our report. If we dive into our data set, you'll see under the DAX queries, we have our different type of tests.
So to run all the tests, we need to install the Invoke-DQVTesting module. To do that, in VS Code, you'll need to make sure you have PowerShell core installed. This one's running on 7.4.1. And you'll need to run this command. With the PowerShell module installed, now we just need to run the command Invoke-DQVTesting with the argument of -local. -local is an argument that will make sure that it inspects the DAX queries associated with your Power BI file and looks to see where that Power BI file is open on localhost and runs those tests. Hit enter. You'll notice that the test now will run, identifying which test is being run, the status of that test,
and then finally at the end where all the results of the tests, in this case 13 passed, 0 failed, and a total of 13 were run. And this is what it looks like if a test fails. I've added in a test that will automatically fail by comparing two text values that do not match, and you'll see that a message in red prefixed with the word failed appears. You'll notice that it's under the column.test.dax test, and then finally at the end the results will indicate how many have passed the one that has failed in the total runs. So hopefully you can see that by following the DAX query view testing pattern and using the PowerShell module Invoke-DQVTesting, you can automatically run all the tests against your currently open Power BI file.
I hope you learned something from this video. Try it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. And let me know what kind of testing you do for your semantic models. I'd love to hear about it. Take care.